The role of gender on perceived stress and psychological well-being. There is substantial research that suggests that while men experience more externalizing mental health symptoms like alcohol or drug use and aggressive or defiant behavior, women struggle more with internalizing mental health patterns, such as anxiety and depression or other mental disorders. Women have a higher probability of their anxiety manifesting as a clinical disorder, such as obsessive-compulsive disorder or post-traumatic stress disorder, and they are more susceptible to the negative effects of stress than men. The link between anxiety, depression, and perceived stress may be more of a mutual causality type of relationship, in that higher levels of stress may contribute to the diagnosis of a mental disorder, or experiencing anxiety and depression could lead to increased embodiment of stress. These notable differences between genders can be representative of biological and hormonal influences, physical life experiences, and societal expectation and cultural differences. Participants utilized the Qualtrics platform to answer several survey questionnaires. Individuals were recruited from various colleges and universities and different majors and disciplines. We had 795 participants in our sample. Our sample was aged 18 to 29 years old and was comprised of 78.2% women. The racial demographics of our sample were 41% Caucasian, 32.2% African American or Black, 11.1% Latino or Latina, 6.2% Asian or Asian American, and 3.3% marked other or preferred not to answer. The survey included these basic demographic information and assessments of psychological well-being and perceived impact of emotional experience. We utilized the State Trait Anxiety Scale as well as the Depression Scale, which were used to assess psychological well-being, specifically that of anxiety and depression symptomology and severity. To gauge emotion and mood experiences, participants answered the Positive and Negative Affect Scale. Individuals also responded to the Perceived Stress Scale to help assess the perception of individual stress levels. Data were analyzed using SPSS version 26. Consistent with previous research, women reported statistically significantly higher levels of depression, negative affect, anxiety, and stress than men. Men reported statistically significantly higher levels of positive affect than women in the sample. Perceived stress, negative affect, anxiety, and depression all demonstrated statistically significant positive relationships with each other. That is, if a participant reported a high score on one of these factors related to their mental health, they were more likely to report high scores on the other factors. Only positive affect was negatively correlated with stress. When predicting perceived stress, a hierarchical regression showed depression as the strongest predictor and explained nearly 50% of the variability in perceived stress scores, followed closely by negative affect and anxiety. These findings corroborate the vast literature regarding gender disparities in psychological health and how individuals cope with stress. Fascinatingly, depression was a strong predictor of perceived stress, more so than anxiety. Some research indicates that there is a significantly positive relationship between depression and perceived stress, suggesting the relationship between mental health and stress experiences is complex and intertwined. Conversations are imperative regarding why women report and experience higher rates of anxiety and depression, negative mood and emotion, and observed stress than men. Being able to better understand the cognitive, behavioral, and biological components of these variables can aid in the creation and implementation of helpful coping strategies and the development of better targeted modalities for the treatment of mental symptoms. Furthermore, it remains vital to explore why men in this sample reported lower levels of internalized psychological disorders and stress, and to consider the societal and cultural implications regarding stereotyped gender norms that may influence underreporting in men.